As John Wagner wrote on kellyfooda.com, the state fair, where the four food groups are fried, deep fried, sugared, and on a stick. I would like to inform you about the history of the Wisconsin State Fair. I was born and raised in Wisconsin and have lived there for most of my life. I have attended the state fair every year but one since I was 2 years old. That's a lot of years and a lot of state fairs. The state fair can be a good time for everyone. You can see and pet farm animals, eat delicious high-calorie food, listen to live music, shop for homemade goods, visit the Midway for rides and games, but most importantly, enjoy the company of your friends and family. I would like to talk to you about how the Wisconsin State Fair has evolved to meet current trends, when and why it has been canceled, and also about some of the famous people who have visited the fair. The Wisconsin State Fair has evolved through the years to keep up with the times. According to Emily Ness, in the article, The History and Magic of the Wisconsin State Fair, in the 1800s, the fair presented farm machinery displays. For instance, the Farmall F12 tractor was demonstrated for fairgoers. M. Baylor states in the article, History of the Wisconsin State Fair, in 1903, a 1-mile dirt racetrack was built. In 1954, it was paved. This is known as the Milwaukee Mile. It has hosted both NASCAR and IndyCar races. It is the oldest 1-mile dirt racetrack in the country. In 1910, the fair added aeronautic demonstrations. These began with biplanes and progressed to jets. As time went on, the fair added such items as the demolition derbies, the sky ride back and forth across the park, a large variety of shops and food, plenty of live music, the Midway, and also bungee jumping. Now that I've talked to you about how the state fair has evolved to meet current trends, I would like to share with you when and why the fair has been canceled. Since 1851, when the Wisconsin State Fair opened, it has only been canceled a few times. According to Justin Barney in the article, 10 Weirdest Facts of the Wisconsin State Fair, the first cancellation occurred in 1861 to 1863. This was due to the American Civil War. The second cancellation occurred in 1893 when Chicago hosted the World's Columbian Exposition. Fair officials were worried that this event would lower their attendance, so they canceled the fair. The third cancellation came in 1945. This was due to World War II. In 1946, the Wisconsin State Fair presented Welcome Home to all military personnel. The final cancellation was in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. CDC recommendations were to avoid large gatherings. Now that you know when and why the fair was canceled, I would like to share with you some of the famous people who have visited the state fair. Through the years, many famous people have visited the Wisconsin State Fair. According to the article History on wisconsinstatefair.com, several U.S. presidents have visited the fair and some gave speeches. Some even stood on the back of a farm wagon to give their speech. In 1859, before he was president, Abraham Lincoln delivered a speech to fairgoers on agriculture. In 1875, President Rutherford B. Hayes gave a speech on hard times. In 1880, former President Ulysses S. Grant presented a speech to Wisconsin residents congratulating them on their wealth and prosperity. In 1909, President Howard Taft visited the fair. In honor of his visit, a large sculpture of himself was created. It was carved out of butter. In conclusion, I've shared with you some of the history of the Wisconsin State Fair. I've discussed how the State Fair has evolved to meet current trends, when and why it has been canceled, and a little about some of the famous people who have visited the fair. Now that you've heard about the Wisconsin State Fair, perhaps you'd like to visit a state fair near us. Most states have one. Jackson is the home to the Mississippi State Fair, and Shreveport hosts the Louisiana State Fair. Thank you.